Morgan's battery. Who? Sorry, I don't recall the name. Last expedition I met disappeared weeks ago. Didn't give any names, but they definitely haven't come back this way. Don't mean the Sfeara weren't part of an expedition, though. We get groups passing by sometimes looking to try their luck. What's on your mind?
Baragon. Don't know that anyone else here is gonna see it that way, but I thought you should know.
Any progress with Devala? And I thought you were going to get rid of Devala, not sell me out to her. What she said is true. I had a gambling problem when I was younger. I've paid 7 years of my life for it. I won't pay any more. As for the boy, I didn't want to hurt him, but he saw me as I was sneaking out of the stockade. I wish it had gone differently, but I'd do it again. Anything to keep from getting sent back to that place. It's not a yoke around my neck. And I suppose it's better than dying in this frozen crater of a town.
Look at that little fella, eh? Take this with my thanks. Didn't need his trouble around here. Anyway, what brings you back? Top quality bear pelts on every bed. You won't be disappointed.
It's you. I'm so glad you came by. I hoped I'd have the chance to thank you properly. They told me what happened. God's bless you, sir. I owe you my life. I know it was foolish of me to run in there, but this ring is all that I have of my family. Oh, I'm managing. Fenway's letting me stay with her until I'm back on my feet. Everyone's been lovely, really. It was hard seeing what's left of the house, but Rayvald says he's going to see a hut raised for me soon as they get the logs. Funny, Rayvald was just in here asking after the same thing. Guess that stuff really is popular. Haverick has some, but he says the Fenland stuff's not for sale. And he's rigged up the cellar like a battlefield trying to keep people out. Sorry. If anyone deserves a drink, it's you, sir. But I don't think I could convince him. We still have a decent supply of food and drink if anything else takes your fancy.
That was way too much Blackson.
If you weren't gonna fetch the liquor for me, you didn't have to tell Haverick about it. Now he's banned me from the inn altogether. Very funny. Look, what do you want? You've already ruined my plans for the next 3 evenings.
Leave now. I can still peel the flesh from your bones. Careful. I killed the last wanderer I found in these parts. Consider it indigestion, and consider yourself lucky I've eaten.
Brave.
Stand together! Stand together!
Ah!
Thoughts wander often to the lost builders of this fortress we seek. They were erased from the world. I wonder, was it meant to be so? After 2 centuries, I would not hold out hope. All things fade, and always sooner than we wish.
Even worse
Behind
when
us!
dead. Baragon spoke of this one.
Stand together!
Back again? I told you. Of course, a fresh fool to replace the last fools. What brings you stomping through my workshop, eh? And an accent I hear too rarely around these stammering mountain folk. But you go straight to business. We appreciate that, don't we?
Anything for a breather from your endless yammering.
You would miss me if I were gone, Aimura. For who would tolerate your barbs and insults? But you come seeking the White Forge, like they all do. Boys with smooth cheeks and wild dreams. Girls with bright ribbons tied next to their scabbards. Old men and women, too, seeking a final blaze of glory before they're snuffed out for another turn at the wheel. Sound familiar? I have this conversation with every pig-headed swashbuckler those Postanagos and stalwarts send here. Go see Garvino, they say. Surely he'll help you.
Must have slipped their minds what a busy and important fellow you are.
I should have let them stone you. Would have silenced your endless rattling forever.
Then you'd have naught but those frostbitten inbreds for company.
The spiteful imbeciles destroyed my career, ruined years of work. But let us focus on the reason for your visit, yes? The villagers and their adventurers hammer and pry at the battery as if they were laying siege to some mouldering lord's keep. But those stones were laid by some of the finest builders ever to have lived, disciples of Abidan in the truest sense. They will not fall by the whims of any kith, and the door itself, it is infused with living essence. Perfetto! This is the crux of the matter. The Pargrunen of Durgan's battery perished within their own keep, victims of a violent disagreement among their own commandants. Surely in the village you have heard stories, no? Disappearing caravans, tracks in the snow, screams from the high towers. The work of spirits still trapped in the battery, and a testament to those impenetrable walls. But the door of the keep, the one the Pargrunen filled with essence, it was made to listen, to recognize its masters. Traditional Aptapo cultures revolved around language. Words revealed who they were and where they were from. That is why you need a Kantek. That's the simple explanation. A Kantek is a statement of purpose, a declaration of identity. Each is unique to its stronghold. Thus, to enter a fortress like Durgan's battery, you would stand at the gate and recite its Kantek. To learn the Kantek, you must speak with one of the dwarves of Durgan's battery. A shame they are all dead, no? But no doubt their souls live on in one or two of the villagers of Stalwart, like fine wine poured into a cheap pot. But to identify them, that is the first problem. You would need the skills of an animancer. A watcher? Diverus? If this is true, then you could find a sole descendant from Durgan's battery, no question. But the greater difficulty remains. You would have to learn the Cantek from the dormant soul, and to do that, you would have to awaken it. Oh, yes. Whoever you awaken will live with the memories and the personality of a past life. Maybe peacefully, maybe not. That is why you must pay attention to the soul you would awaken, no? It is a monumental thing to impose on another, but these are the very people who wish to rediscover the White Forge, Verus. An awakening is merely the jolting of a dormant soul into consciousness. When such things happen normally, it is because something has reminded the subject of a past life, often violently so. Thus, to awaken one of the former dwarves of Durgan's battery, you will need to address that soul, and preferably by name. But show some care. When you examine these souls, whatever it is you watchers do, you may see images, memories. These are moments of special import. What you see will tell you much about the person, and perhaps the condition in which they awaken. Awaken them from a traumatic memory, and who knows, maybe they awaken thirsty for blood, or maybe you awaken someone else. Here, this has been tuned to the Aeon of Durgan's battery. Use it near the villagers, and it should tell you if one has a soul old enough to have come from the battery. Who can say? None have yet opened Durgan's battery. But the ones that came before you, I think they got close. You may wish to find them and see what they discovered. Most interesting. They spent many days at the battery door. This looks like something that once belonged there. You have much work ahead of you, as do I.
I'm going with him.
You? Go to Stalwart? Is this your macabre sense of humor, or has something gone to rust in that beautiful head I crafted?
No one will bother me while I'm with him. Besides, I can help him find people in Stalwart.
You haven't been to Stalwart in 13 years. And this watcher sees souls. What help could you be? Besides, I have need of you here. You owe whatever remains of your wicked life to me. This charming specimen is a convicted murderer. The Devil of Carrick, she's called.
Mighty fine of you to start with my good qualities, and you wonder why we don't get more visitors.
Killed over 12 people before they finally caught up to her in Stalwart. Perfect company for lonely camps and mountain passes, no?
Hey, I know how to start a campfire.
The only reason she's not a frozen corpse is because I convinced the old mayor to let me try an experiment. Into a work of art! Look at this! Craftsmanship worthy of a jeweler. Fully articulated joints, capable of grasping a pen and writing her own name.
And of crushing your throat.
Show me another smith anywhere in the Deerwood who is capable of such delicacy and precision. She is a masterpiece. Why build a fortress or a village or anything? To make something that keeps, that... It was the early days of the legacy. My peers in the colleges of Animancy were filling the Hollowborn with the souls of animals. I thought there was a better way.
One with a plum academy job back in Salona? Don't forget that part.
She committed her first crime in the village of Carrick. Burned a family alive in their home. Did the same thing in half a dozen other villages, but the name stuck.
Here we go.
They were going to stone her anyway. Why not allow her to be put to some useful purpose?
My life's ambition. to serve somebody's useful purpose.
I approached Mayor Sinahiod and begged. He saw the potential and allowed me the privilege of attempting my little experiment. Then, I accomplished what few animancers have even dreamed of. No academic support, no patron. Just me in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, now you got 'em all wound up.
I transferred a fully intact soul from a living subject to a fabricated body. She retained her personalities, her memories, all of it. Yet the villagers saw only a stolen corpse. She may be mad, but she's no fool. She wouldn't survive long on her own. If the villagers didn't send a hunting party after her, the Eramans would claim her. Her joints and mechanisms require maintenance, and she cannot perform all of it herself.
See, he's reminding me, in case I get any bright ideas.
She's a fine specimen, her personality notwithstanding. Quay? No, you don't know what you ask. This woman, the Devil of Carrick, she was a notorious murderer, burned people alive all over the region. Besides, she works for me. After all, I am the one who preserved her. So you get use of the Devil's services, and I get the satisfaction of knowing those stiffnecks are sweating through their small clothes, eh? It's a deal.
Fine price for a blacksmith striker. Suppose I should be flattered.
And there you have it, a bargain. A moment. You are going back to Stalwart, yes? Perhaps you could do me a favor. There is a man in the village named Grinde, the head fisherman. The rest of Stalwart kisses his feet because he fills their stinking blades with speckleback. But I know he's not as virtuous as he seems. Humiliate him, of course. Show his neighbors what he truly is, and let him live with the disgrace. He's always been a ripple sponge addict. Just got good at hiding it once his sainted sister died and left him in charge of the fishery. But he keeps a stash in the fishery, sneaks in at night when the others have gone home, and emerges sluggish and red-eyed a few hours later. I want you to expose him. Go to the fishery after dark when it's empty, find his ripple sponge and show it to Renengild. That self-righteous meddler engineered my eviction from the village. He turned them all against me. Now I want him to feel the scorn of those mush-brained imbeciles. Do not answer me now, but when you return to that festering eyesore and smell the stink of fish that hangs in the air, consider what I've said. Besides, you appreciate a good joke, don't you? Diverus, this will be a great one. But be sure to approach the fishery by night, when it's empty. They will give you no end of trouble if they see you stealing during the day. Other projects, they are none of your concern. For years I've been trying to create another like the Devil of Carrick. Yet those post-Enacos in Stalwart destroyed my machinery. Now, I can only create these broken, mindless things. The devil remains my most perfect creation. Smugglers, slavers, fugitives, the kind of riffraff that pass this way, rarely missed, and good work to keep my little devil busy. I can't present the Devil of Carrick to the academies, can I? A mad woman and a murderer? No. I need to bring a success to the republics.
You gotta see this.
Stand together! Stand together!
That's right.
Segani, I had heard that women do the hunting in Nasitak, but wasn't sure if I could believe it until I met you.
And I thought it was our raw meat diet that made us strange.
Well, that too, honestly.
Village was a touch livelier when I saw it last. Ain't saying much, though. Bitter cold and a persistent odor of fish. And that were just the people. Anything's better than Galvino's workshop. You ain't heard the old buzzard sing. Anyway, what about you? We seen lots coming through, trying to crack the battery, but no watchers. Ah, looking for someone. That's a familiar yarn. But don't let me keep you from the sights and sounds of Stalwart. They're easy to miss. Effigy's eyes, that man loved to talk. If it's sane and logical reasoning you're wanting, you're gonna be disappointed. Ain't no sense in any of it. Mayhap you've heard of Coldmorn. Was a quiet, forgettable patch of the woods. Till a pack of rabid clodhoppers set it afire. A farmer on the other side of the mountains woke up one day with his head all aflame and took it for the gibbering speech of his god. And so did a few thousand of his countrymen. So when he tired of Vorlus fields and marched west, a horde of armed hicks followed. Bunch of fool nonsense is what I'm talking about. But others have called it the same. If you know that much, then you've heard of Coldmorn. Ours was the village that let a few thousand of Widewind's troops pass through. They had us clean beaten numbers. Even bumpkins like us figured that. Just look at Mercy Vale. They fought back. And now there ain't one stone standing atop another in the whole village. Besides, we asked the Duke for help. Told him Widewind's troops was coming through the mountains. Seems he had better uses for his soldiers. So we let Widewind's soldiers pass. Left him for the Duke to wrangle on his own terms. Was after the Godhammer made a fine grit out of Widewind, when Deerwoodens were running on rage and looking for something to burn. They came at dark, hundreds of folk. Every one of them mourning someone lost in the war. Must have decided it was our duty to escort their dead back to the wheel. They didn't light their torches till they had us surrounded. Time we saw them, there was a ring of fire closing around us. I woke, ran to the window. Whole village were a maze of flames. Couldn't see nothing for the smoke. And the screams. Most ran for the streets, got caught by the mob. Others hid, let their houses burn down around them. Ran, fought, hid, burned. Same as my neighbors and family, just luckier. You're the only person in the Deerwood who thinks so. Me, I'm surprised the Duke didn't make our massacre a festival day. Hunting down the men and women what took part. Thought that much was clear. Sure. You want me to tell you straight? I found the men and women what destroyed my village, and I burned their houses down around them. Sometimes they was alone, and sometimes they wasn't. Well, we just gotta do our best with what time the gods give us, don't we? It were a mob that destroyed our village, but it was just one man that burned my family's house. Kept hoping I'd get to him as I was working my way through the rest of those maggots. No matter now, I suppose. Only kind to have with someone like him. Or me. No other way to feel about the man who flayed my living soul. Around about 13 years. Too long, you ask me. He'd spread butter on bread and claim he made something. Never been accused of modesty, that man. He managed to stuff my soul into this heap of bronze, true enough. Maybe that makes him a genius. Also makes him a son of a bitch. Every day, just kept putting it off. It's not like either of us was going anywhere. Looked after his tools, cleaned the workshop, swung the sledgehammer. Oh, and snatched up travelers for his soul tinkering. But don't you worry. They were all bad folk. Just so you know, you got a real professional working for you. Yeah, I had enough of him too. Stalwart's great this time of year. Beareth spells in bloom for a good 5 days, and the mountain squall actually blows the fish stench away from town. Better than staying at Galvino's, anyway. I got a reputation. People in these little villages ain't the most open-minded. Not yet. Believe what you want. I killed a lot of folk, but none of them was in Stalwart. Plenty, but nothing you need to know. There weren't much to say about it. By my reckoning, that means it was pretty good. Ma was a trapper, taught me to set snares and dress game. Dad was a tinker. I never had his patience, but it were fun to watch him work. My brothers and sister, they was good folk too. Part of me's glad they ain't here to see me now.
You've had some luck, and do take care with that device. It has a few rather delicate components. What? So it works? What a day! But why these gems? I didn't think the device would be able to pick up inert Audra. Fascinating. I have to study this further, but all the same, it worked! At last, a breakthrough! With that Audra to work from, I can refine the enchantments. We'll be digging up iron, gold, Audra, all of it! This is going to change everything. Oh, and I won't leave you empty-handed, of course. Here, I had this set aside for supplies, but I don't think I'll be staying in Stalwart much longer. I won't forget all you've done for me. They'll hear about this back home, I promise you. Who knows? Perhaps they'll name the next battery after you.
You look like you've been in the wilds. You see my wagon out there? You've saved my hide. I can't thank you enough, but I hope you'll take this. Here, as promised. Thanks again. With a little luck, I'll trade these blizzards in for a sea breeze soon enough. Thousands of miles on Valian trading ships, but never seen the shores of Nasitak. How did you find your way on your own, Sagani?
Well, it has taken 5 years, but Itamak never wants to ask for directions.
Perhaps you should take over as navigator in the future.
Like I always say, blame it on the fox.
Take it you've met Galvino.
How much did the old snake pay you, Sina Hiod?
Maestro Calvino and I came to an agreement. It was for the good of Stalwart. I thought...
You thought you'd let a killer walk among us?
Let's go.
Enough.
That's enough.
What's on your mind?
Didn't think there was anything more than lice and hoarfrost to these folk, but you had a look back there. What do you find when you're rooting around like that? Mayhap I'm looking for someone. Woodcutter by the name of Harmka. It sure does. He was one of them. The mob that destroyed Cold Morn. I tracked him to Stalwart years ago, but got caught before I could finish my business. This man, Harmka, I saw him outside my house the night it burned, staring into the flames the way I seen you stare into souls. I knew it were a fool's errand trying to hunt down every man and woman that carried a torch into Cold Morn, but if I knew I got the one responsible for my kin and my hearth, I might could rest easy. I took a good long look that night. Ours was a little place with a yellow door right on the edge of town. He was there. Besides, I asked around when I first got to Stalwart. Townsfolk said that all the woodcutters in town took part in the purge. Point of pride for them. I told you he was part of the mob. I spotted him watching my house when it burned. But when we find him, I want to know if he's the one responsible for my home, my parents, and my brothers and sister. I never thought I'd have the chance to know for sure, but you could look into his soul and find out, you being a watcher and all. Mighty fine of you. Mighty fine indeed. Don't know where he dallies these days, but someone in Stalwart could tell us. People from little villages, they always know.
You've been busy since we last spoke. I want to thank you for what you've been doing for Stalwart. Probably out in the russet wood, chopping timber.
The only way to be free of revenge is to never pursue it. Turn the other way and never look back.
Why do you want to know? Well, if you don't find him, just check back later. What's on your mind?
Something else you need?
How goes?
Auroch's shadow! What's that wicked thing doing here? It's a killer! Look, we don't want no trouble. Just trying to do our work. We'd be much obliged if you'd leave us be. And take that thing with you. Everyone does. Let the Raid-Sarans into the Deerwood. What's that got to do with anything? What did you say?
Stand together!
Almost 15 years I've been looking for him. All that fretting and wondering, and the deed's over in less time than it takes to tell. I killed a lot of folk in my time, felt their blood slick in my hands, smelled their flesh as it burned. And I always used to imagine what it would be like to have Harmka under my knife, feeling his breath come hot and fast, smelling the fear ooze out of him. Couldn't feel a thing. His fading pulse weren't no more than a powder of rain to me. This body, it weren't made for feeling. Gouging my fingers into Harmka's wasting flesh, his screams just buzzing in my skull. All it did was remind me that this is a madman's fever dream. Like a prison, but no, 'cause in a prison, you lay your head down and you feel the straw soft beneath you, your flesh prickling in the cold, black bread crumbling on your tongue. I'd trade 'em all if I could feel the snow cold around my ankles. I still dream I'm folk. I wake up some mornings wondering why I can't feel the floor beneath me, thinking I must have fallen and gone crippled. But then I lift my head, see a bronze corpse stretching out in front of me. It's not pity I want, it's a choice. I dreamed too of what Galvino did that night. Those moments. I'd endure another cold morn if it'd spare me this fate. was after I got caught in Stalwart. They'd locked me in a little house by the inn, the old mayor and his cronies. When a crowd of them came for me in the dark of night, I was only surprised it had taken them so long. Only they didn't march me to no gallows. No, they snuck me to another house on the edge of town, real sneaky-like. That's where I met Galvino. True enough, this was before the locals gave him the boot. Still weren't a popular fellow, though. He was fiddling with some machinery in his workshop. Had his sleeves rolled up, even though it was cold enough to see your breath. Never actually looked at me until he started fitting some copper helmet over my head. By that time, the mayor's goons had me trussed up good and tight. Galvino was having himself a grand time barking orders at that lot. So while Galvino's fastening that helmet over my head and them copper bands around my arms, I'm starting to look at his contraption. And that's when I see it. It's this metal suit strapped into the machine just like me. A cold, dead-eyed thing, all done up with fancy carvings and such. The one. I start asking Galvino and the rest of them what's going on, but they're too busy to answer. Then suddenly, they're waiting, staring at me with that fixed, horrified look. But they ain't watching me. They're watching for something to happen. Galvino tells the woman nearest the machine to flip the handle. And then, just pain. Being torn apart every which way, feeling my soul peeled from my body. By the time I came to, I couldn't feel a thing. Just this dull, distant sort of ache. I think that was when I knew. I reckon I'm the wrong person for that sort of question. But if it cools your conscience, Galvino didn't get off easy. The rest of Stalwart didn't take kindly to having a killer in their midst, nor to seeing their mayor and the army Valians strike a secret deal. They drove Galvino out, destroyed a fortune in machinery, and wrote a letter to the Academy in Salona, ruining what was left of his name. Still, he's lucky he didn't get a pelting. The old mayor fled too, and Stalwart's been as snug and cheery as ever. You're better company than Galvino. Been a while since I were out in the world. Guess I'm keen on seeing more of it, even if I'm stuck with a bleeding heart. Anyways, I've been wondering about that fortress. Near everyone thinks it'll have just the thing they need. Those villagers want it to fix up their brook downtown. Galvino always thought it carried some great secret of Animanson, and all them adventurers came looking for fancy gear. I don't know. Something to help me feel, or forget. Effigy's eyes, maybe just something new. I just figured, with those dwarves being expert smiths and all, maybe they had something to unmake me. Put me back into my body. You got a real knack for finding the upside.
Arsenic, worthy, rock.
Can't get out of here!
Arsenic, worthy, rock.
Stand together!
Help us!
Soldier.
Here.
What? What's happened? Who are you? Gallowayne, the totem! I took it to gift to Father, and then the ogre attacked. I changed, and it was like I was shackled to someone else. He wanted to chase, to hunt forever. I remember it in pieces. It's mostly darkness, but I could see. Sometimes. I think I hurt someone. Wait. My father. Thiersch. Is he alive? Where is he? Oh, merciful gods. I don't know what to say. What you must have seen of me. I remember the taste. How can I return home after all this? You speak sense. I can't run from what I've done, from the families I've destroyed. I'll return home and do what I can to help them. I will go home and beg my father's forgiveness. To you, I offer this. It is the dearest thing I own. I will tell my father what you have done for me. If you mean to return to Stalwart, perhaps you will find me there.
To speak up? My hearing ain't what it was.
Sinove, please. If we go now, we can get behind the barricade. We won't do any good here.
We're gonna go down fighting. Anyone who feels differently can settle it with me right now. That name. It carries memories of death, war, fury, the taste of blood. What trickery is this, stranger? You think a Pargrin would so easily betray her own people? Lies! You'd empty our halls if Coinmaster Zoltan threw our doors any wider. Arms Warden Maroon warned us about the greed of outsiders. You'll stay out of Durgan's battery while I'm... Then let us share the words of our bond, brother. Did I nod off? My, but I had the strangest dream. So much work to be done. Pardon me, but I'd better check on those miners. At the rate they're going, it'll be another year before they clear that blazing shaft.
You couldn't have known, Father. Everything that happened, it was my doing. I tried to free myself, but
Stranger, I never imagined I could not hope to see my son again. But you have returned him to me. You will always be welcome here. May the gods turn their gaze from you, stranger, and may your path be clear.